Welcome to the Activity Call Live. Now, let's hear it for our special guest host, Eric Bellaire.
Thank you for coming on to today's show, everybody. My name is Eric Bellaire, but today we're going to call myself Mr. E. And the reason why is because, people say that I'm extraordinary, and I like to just say extraordinary. But anyhow, the E stands for a lot of things like extraordinaire. It rhymes with Bellaire. That's why I do things with a flair, sell more Medicare, and one day we'll be a millionaire. But anyhow, we don't want to keep rhyming all day. Let's get started with our topic for today. Improve your in-home show to increase your cash flow glow. And I'm going to give you some tidbits and some tactics and some things that will hopefully resonate with you, and you'll be able to do this too. So on to the next slide. So check this out. We've got the definition to salesmanship. We've got the definition to showmanship. And I just want to make sure you understand them both. Salesmanship, the scale or art of selling and presenting in an effective, persuasive manner. That's what they say salesmanship is. They say showmanship. Showmanship, they say, is the skill of performing and presenting in an entertaining, dramatic fashion. I don't know, but I like the fact that they use the word art. I like the fact they use the word presenting in both of them. I just love them both. And I love being a salesmanship. I love having salesmanship and I love having showmanship. And I use them both when I'm in the home. So I sail to success. You know what I'm saying? Ships sail to success. Anyhow, let's go further into today's training. I want you to know that author John Maxwell has done a great deal of good for me. I'm so happy I got introduced to John Maxwell by Andy Albright. If it wasn't for Andy Albright, I would have never known John Maxwell. Not only have I read John Maxwell's books, but I've got to meet John Maxwell in person, and I love his message and several of his books. But one book in particular that he wrote helped me to achieve a lot more success in the home. And that book is Everyone Communicates, but Few Connect. Now you got to ask yourself, now you got to read the book, but I got to ask you, and you got to ask yourself a question. And the question is simple. Why? Why? Why does everybody communicates? We all know we can run our mouths. We all have the ability to run our mouths, but why is it only a few of us connect? So John Maxwell delivers a terrific message in that book. If you haven't gotten the book, you need to get the book. And I can tell you, he teaches you things that will help you to connect with people, that help you to connect with your clients. And when you connect with your clients, you're going to have a better shot of helping that client. So again, a great book. I needed to go ahead and say that because a lot of things I'm going to cover today are because of what John Maxwell taught me in that book. So the next slide up, check it out. Listen to this. A meeting with a client gives you a shot. Don't waste it. Don't take it for granted. You have a shot. You have a shot. The client said, yes, come to my house. The client said, yes, be there on Saturday, be there on Monday. I want to talk with you. That's an opportunity. And you can't let that opportunity slip through your fingers. So when you go to that home, you have got to go to that home and be on your best performance. You've got to give them a show. And we're going to talk about that right now on how to increase your cash flow glow. Clients want to know 4 things about you. They really do. When a client first meets you and you walk into their home, John Maxwell talks about this in his book. People are asking, their subconscious minds are asking these questions. It's going through their brain. And he talks about this. They want to know, do you care? They want to know, do you care? Let me tell you something. People who care will show up and be prepared. Okay, if you prepare, it shows you care. to a degree, right? You still got to do other things to show them you care, but I would definitely prepare before you go into their home, right? I would show them you care enough to prepare, right? But people want to know, do you care? People want to know, are you helpful? Can you help them? Will you be a help to them? Their subconscious mind is asking these questions, so their conscious mind is looking for hints or details or things that will help them to determine the answer to these questions. I've had some agents in the past, after I read this book, say, well, I'll just tell them that I care. I'll just tell them that I'm helpful. No. Saying the words is not what we're talking about. You just can't go into the home and say, hey, I care and I'm helpful. No, that's not it. It's not it. Now, it may be a tiny part of it by mentioning those words, but you've got to play the part. You've got to do the part. You've got to act the part, right? And you got to have a heart. You got to have a heart. The next thing they're asking themselves, are you trustworthy? Are you somebody that they can trust? And again, you can sit there and say, hey, the state of Florida gave me a license to help people, and they don't give this to anybody. They've trusted me, so I hope you will too. That's some part of it, a tiny part of it, but that's not all of it. That's not all of it. And the next thing is, are you friendly? Are you a friendly spirit? Are you somebody they want to be in business with, do business with? Are you that person? These are the things. Let me tell you something. As soon as we walk into a client's house, I know I've dressed up like a doctor in the past, and you've seen some other outfits of mine, and I love doing training. Training is entertaining, and entertaining is training. But anyhow, I'm not in a doctor's outfit today, but I got to tell you this. When you go into a client's house, you walk into a CT scan. Oh, yes, you do. You're immediately in a CT scan, because the client is scanning you from the moment they set eyes on you, from the moment they get eye contact with you, for credibility and trust. Credibility and trust. And they want to make sure that you are credible and that you can be trusted. That's why I do wear my lanyard around my neck in every appointment and every hot knock and every sale. And I've been wearing that lanyard around my neck for at least the last 6 or 7 years. And it's done a great deal to help me to deliver the message that I am a licensed agent in the state of Florida helping people. And that's just part of it. But it's my credentials. It's my credentials. And when I book appointments, I even say to people, especially when I'm talking to these seniors with Medicare, I'll be showing up with my credentials around my neck. I'll be showing up with my credentials around my neck, because I want them to know I have credentials. I have credentials. That CT scan is a scan that you got to be aware of, and they're doing it every moment that you're in the house. So check this out. Check this out. When you connect, your clients will want to do business with you, be in business with you, and I will dare say have a friendship with you. How many of you have had a friendship with your clients? How many of you have got to know your clients well enough to say that you have a friendship with them? It's pretty awesome that you went in there to help them and to serve them and to offer them your services. But because of the fact that you care, the fact that you can help, the fact that you can be trusted, the fact that you're friendly, now they're not just in business with you or doing business with you, but now they're a friend with you. That's kind of cool, because you know what? Last time I checked, friends don't screw over friends. And you want your client to be your friend. I think it's pretty cool. So anyhow, there are 4 corners to connecting. We've talked about them already, but we're going to go into detail about them. So there are 4 corners to connecting, and they are to show them that you care. They're to show them that you're helpful. They're to show them you're trustworthy. They're to show them you're friendly. And you have to connect through this in-home experience. So here's another thing I want to make sure everybody knows. So I have some, over the past, 15 years, I've had some agents that say, Eric, I can do this, but, really, do I have to care for them? Eric, I could do this, but can I cut corners? Eric, I can do this, but wait, what? So what I did was I drew up here a square, And I want you to see this as a piece of art. I want you to see this as a piece of art. I know it's not art. I know it's not a Rembrandt. It's not a Picasso. But imagine for a second that you have a Rembrandt in front of you. And somebody walks up to that Rembrandt, which is, by the way, 4 corners and a beautiful frame. And they took a hammer to the frame on one of the corners. And they beat the heck out of the frame. And they tore apart that right corner or the bottom left corner. What would you now have? Would you have a piece of art or would you have a piece of junk? Right? So you cannot eliminate one of the corners. You can't say being trustworthy is not that important. And I walk in the gray area and I can sit there and do things and say things and help a client. And no, don't destroy your credibility for a sale. Don't destroy your credibility for a sale. Oh, by the way, you can sit there and say, well, I can be very helpful, but I really don't have to care. I got a family out there. This is just a client. I don't need to care. I just need to be helpful and trustworthy. And I've got some agents that say, why do I got to be friendly? I don't got to be friendly. I mean, to a degree, but I don't want them as a friend. I got enough friends. Go ahead and take away one of the corners. Go ahead and say you can do it without all 4 corners of the art that you need to be, the artist that you need to be. You remember the definition, right? It's the art of helping people, persuading people to get them to go where you want them to go, influencing people. It's an art. And you have to be a piece of art and effectively understand each corner is important. And they all are a part of what you need to be doing. Next slide up. Put on a show, put on a memorable experience with these 4 ingredients. I love going into a home and being entertaining. I love going into a home and being educational. I love going into a home and being emotional. I love going into a home and being enlightening. I believe those are the 4 E's to the ultimate experience. And you might sit there and say, Eric, you're just selling life insurance. Eric, you're just offering annuities. Eric, you're just doing Medicare. Why did you dare say the words ultimate experience? Well, I did, because that's who I am. I want the clients to have a very unique experience, right? I want to do the extra that other agents didn't do. I want to be extraordinary. What about you? I want to be rememberable, right? I want to be memorable. I want them to pass on my name and my number to everybody they know. Like Andy says, Andy Albright has said, he doesn't just want to help them. He wants to help and be and know the land that they're attached to and have the land they're attached to and the land they're attached to. Now, I know he's referring to when he's recruiting and building, but it goes the same way with selling and helping families. You want the land they're attached to, the land that's behind them, the land that's there and there. And the only way you can do that is to deliver them a very unique experience, right? By the way, I got to tell you, another thing that E stands for is enjoy. And you really need to enjoy what you do. It's proven. It's a fact. This is a absolute 100% undeniable fact. People that enjoy what they do are 10 times more productive at it than people who don't enjoy what they do. And I totally enjoy what I do. What about you? What about you? So anyhow, these are the 4 ingredients of an in-home experience. And we're going to go to the next slide. And again, they're 4 corners. Isn't it amazing? There are 4 corners. So some of you could sit there and say, Eric, I don't know about entertaining. So I could talk on the emotional side and I can get on the educational side or the enlightening side, but I'm not going to go the entertainment route. Or Eric, I'm not going to go the emotional route, or I'm not going to go the educational route. It takes too much time. I don't want to be in the home that long. Okay. By the way, it's not a lot of education. Okay, it's just a tidbit. I'm going to give you some hints on what I'm referring to, right? So check this out. Again, there are 4 corners to this in-home show, to this in-home experience. And you have to do each of them to some degree. Because if you don't and you eliminate one of them completely, you're no longer going to be a piece of art. You're not. Because a piece of art is four corners. The Rembrandt's four corners the last time I checked. So anyhow, what do we do to entertain? How do we entertain? Well, let me tell you something. I just talk about current events. I talk about just life. I talk about their life. I talk about their family. I talk about my family. It's just crazy things that we get into. The other day, I had a client and his wife. I helped them both with Medicare. And the next day, he called me back out there to help his ex-wife, believe it or not, his ex-wife and his sister, who both showed up at his house with his current wife and himself. And I helped them too with Medicare. And the second time I was there and the first time I was there, we had great fun talking on their patio. He says every night at that time, that's his happy hour. He even offered me a beer. And I said, no, thank you. But anyhow, the thing is that the second time I was there, I got even more fun with them. And for some reason and somehow, some way, it came up that my dad knocked out my two front teeth. Now, that's not entertaining, right? But to a degree, it's just storytelling, right? We're storytelling. We're talking to each other. Now, you might sit there and say, well, Eric, did that come before or after you helped the other two with Medicare? It came after. I didn't just get up and pack up my bags and leave. I mean, it's all part of the process. And guess what happened the next day? He calls me again. And he goes, I want you to help my brother and my sister-in-law in South Carolina. They're going to be calling you, and this is their number. Look for their call. I told them all about you. How does that happen? It happens because of the showmanship, the salesmanship. And it's all about, I did that little bit of entertaining. I did that little bit of storytelling. So we talk about current events. We talk about family. We talk about their pets. We talk about pictures on their wall. We just have fun with it all. And yes, a laugh here or a laugh there and a smile, oh my God, goes a long way. The next thing is emotional. Let me tell you something. There are different things that we have that can really create emotion. And I want you to know that there are three things that we deal with, believe it or not, that are what people get most emotional about. I mean, we deal with death, we deal with money, and we deal with love. If we didn't deal with love, people wouldn't buy life insurance because I believe life insurance should be called love insurance. But anyhow, so we're dealing with the three topics that are the most emotional out there pretty much when we're in a client's home. We're dealing with love, how much they love each other. We're dealing with death. They're going to die one day, and they've lost other ones who have already died. And we're dealing with money, and people get emotional about their money. And I'm going to prove it to you. So, by the way, if you don't have this grid, and I hope you can see it, if you don't have this grid, it's on ARC. It's under resources. And this is the 10 leading causes of death in America today, from every age group, from 1 year old to over 65 years old. And you have to ask yourself, is it emotional to talk to a client about the number one leading cause of death for a 1 year old to a 34-year-old is accidental? Accidental death happens to people between 1 and 44 more than any other age groups. And it's the number one way they die. What's emotional is the number 3 way children die in our country. The number 3 way children die in our country between ages 1 and 4 is murder. They're being killed. That is totally sad and emotional. The number 2 way children in our country die between the ages of 10 and 34 is suicide. Now, as a father of 8, if that don't break your heart, and by the way, you're going like, why do you have to tell them that? Are you kidding me? Why not show them this? And it's not just about that. I bring it up because they might have grandkids. I bring it up because they might have children. But I'm also showing them the number. When they tell me they have COPD, when they tell me they have cancer, when they tell me they have other diabetes, I say it right away. Do you know that's one of the leading causes of death in America? I know this. It's one of the leading causes of death in America. My daughter, do you know the number 4 way people die between 25 and 34 in America is cancer. And I have a daughter who recently got diagnosed with that. Praise the Lord, praise God. It was all in one place, and praise God, it's already been removed. The thyroid's been completely taken out, and they say nothing's going to occur. It's fine, just a yearly checkup. But now I've got a 28-year-old who's had her entire thyroid removed, and it was because it was cancer. Do you understand, as a father, what I'm going through? And you understand what other fathers and mothers will go through if that occurs to their children? And the fact that the bigger burden on top of that is that they don't have them protected. Oh, by the way, I've got a product that I bought a while back ago with Forrester's that's going to allow my daughter to get $4,000. $4,000 just because she got diagnosed with that cancer, and it isn't going to come out of the death benefit. Now, Forrester's doesn't offer that anymore with their new products, but they did, and they did, and that's what I'm going to do, and that's what I was telling other clients too when I had that product. But it's emotional to know these things, right? It's emotional to talk about these things. It's emotional to look at the client and say, let me ask you something. Are your mom and dad still alive? It's emotional to ask them that, and they tell you, no, they're not. And you ask them, well, I'm sorry to hear that. What age were they when they passed away? How old did they make it to be? And you ask them what it was that took their life. Well, you ask them that. And then you ask them the most important question, in my opinion, of the whole scenario. And that is, listen, Margaret, when your mom died at age 88, did she have a plan in place that helped you and helped your family to bury her or to take care of her final resting place and other things? That's a question. It's a direct question. Did you have did she have a plan in place? And the only way they can answer a question like that is yes or no. And this is all emotional. And by the way, if the answer is yes, praise God. Praise God, Margaret. I'm glad your mother did that. And I plan on doing the same thing for you. I promise you, I'm not leaving here today until we do what your mother did. Agreed? And if her mother didn't have a plan in place, Margaret, I'm sorry to hear that. I know it must have been tough on you and the family. And I promise you this, Margaret, I'm not leaving here today until we do what your mom should have done. Agreed? I mean, it's emotional to talk to them about certain facts, and this might even lean over to educational. When I talk to them about the average life expectancy, I love talking to clients about that. Because it's things that I know that I want them to know because of the things that I do. It's part of my makeup, right? But I want them to know that, listen, average women in America live to be 81 to 84. Average men in America live to be 79 to 81. And that actually has gone down a little bit in the last couple of years. The question is, do you have a policy in place that will take you past that age? Because if you don't, you're not going to possibly have a death benefit to protect your family. And I don't want to tell them that less than 5% of Americans live to be 90, less than 3% live to be 95, less than 1% live to be 100. And these are all facts that cannot be denied, because I'm not up here to tell you a lie. It's a fact, Jack. And I like to say that to them, because then they come out and say, really? My mom lived to be 98. And I go, wow, she was in the top 3%. That's amazing. My mom lived to be 102. Wow, that's amazing. She was in the top 1%. Do you know what that means? You have a great lineage, a great line of health in your family. And we need to get you a plan that will take you out to that point. I mean, by the way, on the emotional side, I apologize. I got to go back on the emotional side. I got to show you this. These are some tools that I use in the home. That grid's really important, but I love this grid because I told you that also money makes people emotional. Okay, if you haven't seen this, you got to check this out. Money makes people emotional. You see that right there? This is the grid I use to get people to purchase annuities, to get people to put money into annuities, right? This is what I use. The red line is where your money's at risk, like in a 401k or in stocks or bonds or mutual funds or a variable annuity. The green line is where your money is at when you put it into a fixed indexed annuity. But if you notice the red line took a dip in 2001. The red line took a dip in 2008. The red line took a huge dip in 2020. And you remind them of why. And it gets emotional. When you talk about 9/11 and the fact that our country lost all those fellow Americans due to a terrorist attack and what happened to our economy because of it, and you look at them and you say, do you think in your lifetime that could ever happen again? You brought up the anger, you brought up the fear, both emotions, and you look right at them and you say, do you think in your lifetime that or something similar can ever happen again? When you go to 2008 and you talk about the market crash because of the government decisions and Freddie Mac and Sally Mae, the thing about it is, do you think that could ever happen again in your lifetime? Look what happened to COVID. Look what happened to our market. Do you think that could ever happen again in your lifetime? If it can, and you say yes, then why do you want to keep your money in the red line? Come on, people. Follow me like all my other clients follow me, and let's put your money in the green line. Layman's terms, easy to understand. Red line, green line. Educational side of that is you show them the 3 arrows. Educate them. If they don't already know, educate them. Money could do 3 things: go up, go down, or stay the same. If you can get rid of one of those arrows, up, down, or stay the same, which one would you get rid of? And we have a product that gets rid of one of those arrows. I mean, it's educational to talk to them about the living benefits and how living benefits work and how we have product that other companies don't have. I mean, do you know that less than 3% of terms in our country's history have ever paid a claim? It's because people outlive them. It's because people outlive them. But imagine living benefits. Imagine knowing that 1 every 22 seconds a heart attack happens in America, knowing that over 800,000 strokes happen a year in America, knowing that 1 out of 2 men in America get cancer in their lifetime and 1 out of 3 women get cancer in their lifetime. And if we live longer, we'd all get cancer in our lifetime, knowing that you could have a policy that would deliver you access to the death benefit for one of those things. And the policy you have now don't give you that. Don't have that. That's an educational fact. It's an educational fact that there's 3 ways to get life insurance. It's an educational fact that there's 3 types of life insurance. There's accidental death, there's term, and there's perm. I mean, these are educational facts, and it doesn't take long to deliver educational facts. You can either get life insurance by stepping on a scale, seeing a nurse, giving them blood, giving them urine, being poked and prodded, and letting them take a peek under the hood and looking at your fluids. And if they decide they don't want you, they're going to turn you down and let every company in America know why. Huh. So now instead of getting insurance, we've just ruined your insurability. Well, we can give you up to millions of coverage with no blood, no urine, no exam, no mouth swab, and no stepping on a scale. That's an educational fact. Enlightenment. What is enlightenment? Let me tell you something that I believe it is. I'm going to enlighten them to the fact of what I have. I had a lady the other day, I did a Medicare deal for her, and it kind of upset me. It did upset me. She looked at me and she said, "What do you have?" I said, "Ma'am, I'm not 65. What do you think? What do I have?" I was very upset about that question. Okay. But anyhow, she laughed. It was over. And I looked at her and I said, "I will tell you that before my dad died, I had him in this plan. And before mom died, I had her in this plan. But dang it, lady, I'm not 65. I don't have a plan yet." What plan do you have? I wanted to smack her upside. Anyhow. Dang it. That was crazy talk. What's enlightening, though, is when I sit there and I say to them, listen, I had these people almost fall out of their chair the other day, and they bought policies. It's so funny because I sold them an accidental death and I sold them whole life. And I was telling them the importance of both of those concepts. And they asked the same question, what do you have? And sometimes I don't even have to ask the question. I tell them, I said, listen, if I drove home today, right now, and got killed in a car crash, my wife would roughly get about $15 million. Now, if I dropped dead in front of you of a heart attack, she'd roughly get about maybe $13 million. Now, that's up till I'm age 69. And if I died after I'm 69 of a heart attack, and I go through it. And if I died after I'm 79, because some of my policies layer off, right? Because I have different concepts. But that's enlightening. It's enlightening them to the fact that you own what you're offering. You buy what you sell. And I talk about other clients and other clients who I've helped. I still bring up the $1 million annuity with the client that worked at Publix who I met with clients, not just agents, because it builds my credibility, but it's enlightening. Whoops, I've lost my TV screen. I took too long to, let me get it back on here again. 1 second. But anyhow, you've got to make sure that you execute those 4 corners. You've got to be entertaining. You've got to be emotional. You've got to be educational, and you've got to be enlightening. Those 4 corners are what it's about when you're in that home trying to deliver a memorable experience, an experience that will help you get that client to do what you know they need to do. So let's go back up here to the screen. Give me 1 second. I apologize about that happening. Just a little delay. Oh, that was it. So where were we at? Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. We're further along. Boom. Okay. So the connecting experience. Remember what I told you about John Maxwell? He says they want to know how much you care. They want to know you can be trusted. They want to know you can be helpful. And they want to know you can be friendly. Well, I believe there's a bridge. There's a bridge that's created from caring to emotional. I believe when you show how much you care, caring and emotional, I think they kind of go together. That's like, show me your heart light. I mean, I just think they go together. Emotional and caring go together. So I don't think you can show them how much you care without being emotional and showing them your emotions. And then, and getting them to be emotional, right? And then trust, I think, is enlightening. I even just said enlightenment is showing them that I own what I sell. I buy what I sell. That's credibility. That's trust. If I trust Foresters, why don't you? If I trust Mutual Omaha, why can't you? If I trust United Healthcare, my mom and dad. So I believe those two are a bridge. Helpful, educational. I mean, come on. If you're going to prove you're helpful, you better be a little bit educational. You better give them some certain information that will help them make that transformation to buying a product that is a part of our organization, for God's sakes. So the last one is friendly. Don't you think friendly and entertaining go together? I mean, when you invite friends over to your house, aren't you entertaining? I mean, so it's really cool, I think. I think it's really cool. I mean, anyway, let me go to the next slide. I love this quote, and I want to talk about it a little bit after I say it. This is from Maya Angelou. I hope I said it right. Angelo. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you make them feel. And I agree with her. But then again, I got to ask myself, isn't what I said, isn't what I did is what created the feeling? So it's really weird. It's like an oxymoron, whatever you call it, like a Pandora box. So check it out. I mean, you can't walk up to somebody and slap them across the face and them not feel it. You can't walk up to somebody and say, hey, you're fat. Okay, so there's an action, I did something, and then there's a saying, I said something, without messing with their feelings. So even though she's saying they can forget what you said and forget what you do and did, but never forget how you made them feel. a lot of what we say and a lot of what we do is what helps them feel the way they feel. And that's what I'm trying to get through to you. So you have to be somebody that cares and has a heart and wants to do your part and communicates in a way that is effective and I guess enjoyable. You know, it's let me tell you another thing. I don't have this on the board. It's not on one of my slides, but I believe this kind of in my heart. And I've gone through a lot of death claims over the last 24 months because of COVID and just people I've been selling to are getting older. But I've noticed that when we as agents are at a different level, I believe we understand we're doing more than just helping people when they lose a loved one financially. And we help them because they have a death claim coming, and we're going to help them with that death claim. But we're not just helping them financially. We also, as agents who are at another level, we help them emotionally. Remember, they're your friends now. And we also help them logistically. I help them fill out the forms. I help them with what the need to get the death claim done. So I'm not just there for them financially. I'm not just there for them emotionally. I'm not just there for them logistically. I believe it or not, because of my faith, I'm there for them spiritually. And that's another level, right? So an agent knows that their job isn't done by getting them to sign the dotted line and saying, you got coverage, friend. You got coverage, friend. No, the job is just started. The job is just started. And it's not done until that person leaves Earth and that family calls you and you're there for them emotionally, logistically, and spiritually, in addition to helping them out financially because of the plan you help them get. Think about that for a moment and imagine helping people in that way. So anyhow, I agree and I understand what she's saying, but please be aware what you say and what you do affect the way people feel about you. I love this author. I love it. And I love this book that Andy told me to read. Erwin Raphael McManus wrote a book called The Artisan Soul, crafting your life into a work of art. Isn't that something? He's telling you in this book, no matter what your profession is, life insurance agent to garbage man to nurse to police officer to an NFL player, to a soldier, to a Marine. Be an artist. Learn your craft. Take it to heart and be the best you can be at it. And this book is an amazing book. If you've never read The Artisan Soul, I would tell you it's a great, great, great read. Next slide. Whoop, that's a blank slide. Next slide. This is the perfect show. They call it the perfect storm. I mean, I love imagining, just imagine. I can only imagine. I imagine every appointment being an amazing appointment. I imagine every lead being an unbelievable lead. You got to imagine the best and the greatest things that can occur because that's what you want, right? You don't want to imagine things being lousy and things sucking, right? You got to imagine greatness. You got to imagine what it would be like and to just have every lead say yes and to have every family member, help in that family and do everything you could possibly do for them, right? From annuities to Medicare, from life insurance to hospital income to everything. But here's the deal. This is the perfect storm, okay? You got to focus on this. What do you want? What do you think the client wants? I understand what we talked about prior, but what does a client want an agent to be, or what does an agent need to be for a perfect storm? The agent needs to be reliable. By the way, focus on reliable a second. Because I got to tell you something about reliable. I don't know if it's an acronym. I don't know if that's the right word, but there's a word. If you look at reliable and you jumble the words, it spells Bellaire. Bellaire is in reliable and reliable is in Bellaire. Hey, it's just as unfair that I can say I rhyme with Medicare. What can I tell you? Anyhow, The next word up here is knowledgeable. The client would love to have a reliable, knowledgeable, capable, and relatable agent. Come on. Wouldn't you, as a client, want a reliable, knowledgeable, capable, relatable individual to work with? This is the perfect storm. When client meets that, what's this now? When agent meets this is the dream. An agreeable, reasonable, amenable, and a persuadable person. Woo! If I can meet an agreeable, reasonable, amendable, persuadable person, forgot the D in there, that would be amazing. If my clients were more agreeable and more reasonable and more amenable and more persuadable, oh God, wow. But check this out. But then the client needs to meet your product. The client needs to meet your product. The client's met you, and now you've met the client, and now the client needs to meet your product. Your product needs to be understandable. Your product needs to be affordable. Your product needs to be usable, and your product needs to be notable. I think we have that. I mean, for God's sakes, we got some notable companies out there. I mean, Humana's nothing to sneeze at. Mutual of Omaha is nothing to sneeze at. NLG is nothing to sneeze at. Foresters is nothing to sneeze at. We got some notable companies with some notable products. Are they usable? Yeah. I just went over the fact that people are going to all die one day. I just went over the fact that when people are going to live to, and if they get illnesses, and we know how Medicare works, of course they're usable. Are they affordable? Of course they're affordable. I believe we get the best rates and products in America. And then are they understandable? I believe all of our products are understandable. Like Andy says, life insurance is easy to understand. You buy a policy, you die, it pays a claim. But this is the perfect storm. This is the perfect storm. It enables you to success. And the question is, can you control the perfect storm? Can you control the perfect show? Can you control it? I don't know, but I'm going to show you something. Over here real quick. Do you know how some companies, you could say it's a gimmick, or you could say it's more than a gimmick. It's actually their, I don't know how to say it. It's their confidence. It's their belief that their product is so powerful that some companies tout it's returnable. And by the way, our products our life insurance is free look, our annuities are free look, and Medicare plans, you can get out of them the next time a thing comes up, or before the month ends, you can call and disenroll before it goes into effect. So really, we have confidence in what we're doing to the degree that they're returnable. And you hear this all over TV ads. You see it in their stores. Bring it back if you don't like it. Bring it back if you don't like it. We give you a 90-day return, a 30-day return, a 60-day return. We offer a free look. We offer you to change your mind plan. But why would you, when it's affordable, understandable, usable, and notable, and you put them into the product that makes the most sense for them? Now, I believe this is 100% controllable. I believe that's 100% controllable. The question is that controllable? Is that controllable? And I got to tell you, no, it's not. Now, can we increase people to be more agreeable and be more reasonable, be more amenable, and be more persuadable? Of course we can, through our actions, through what we do, and how we show them who we are. But I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Our job as we go out there and meet with people, we're looking for electrons, protons, neutrons, and I love when I find a megatron. And these are people that have energy and are moving in the direction we're asking them to move. Protect their family, protect their money, get into the Medicare plan that makes sense, get that hospital income plan, make sure you have this plan for your children, make sure you have this plan for your child, a whole life for your grandchild. We love when we find neutrons, protons, electrons, and megatrons. But in our daily quest, we find a ton and a ton and a ton of morons. And we can't do anything about that. We can't do anything about that. What we do is we move on. We move on and we find the electron, the proton, the neutron, and the megatron. So to a degree, yes, but no. To a degree, yes, but no, and I hope that makes sense. But this is controllable, and this is controllable, and that does make sense. Next slide. Why this is I had to throw this up there because I want you to ask yourself this, and there's a point to this, because you might sit there and go, it's obvious, Eric. It's obvious to you. It's obvious to you if it is obvious, but is it obvious to the client? So the question is, why are we in the home? What is our purpose? What are our intentions? What do we want to accomplish? Those are three big questions, but the biggest one is, does the client know? Does the client know? Does who you're sitting with know what your purpose is? Does who you're sitting with know what your intentions are? Do who you're sitting with know what you're hoping to accomplish? That's the big question. I mean, all my clients know. By the way, and I didn't put it up here, but that's another book that John Maxwell wrote. And if you haven't read it, I know I'm giving you books up here, but man, they're awesome. Intentional living. If you have read the book Intentional Living, think about it as if you intentionally live, that means you intentionally eat. If you intentionally eat, that means you intentionally dial. If you intentionally dial, that means you intentionally smile. Everything you do is with intention because it's intentional living. And the people that live with intentional living are going to live the most and live the greatest lives because you're doing it with intention. It's like a revelation in my brain to think about that. The other day I had a revelation, and I'm supposed to say this. It was like, oh my God. I mean, Andy talks about it. We have 8 hours of fun, 8 hours of work, and 8 hours of sleep. Most Americans have 8 hours of family time or fun, 8 hours of work, and 8 hours of sleep. So I never thought about it like this. But the other day I'm talking to somebody or I'm watching the show, whatever it was, and they said that a person who lives to be 90 years old, which is less than 5% of us, will have slept, bear with me now, 30 years of their life. I couldn't grasp that. I still can't figure that out. 30 years. Oh my God. It's insanity. But anyhow, does the client know what your purpose is? If they don't, make sure they do. Does the client know what your intentions are? If they don't, make sure they do. Does the client know what you're hoping to accomplish? If they don't, make sure they do. Trust me, if you do that, your sales will soar. I'm telling you. Anyhow, what do you do when a client refuses to be agreeable, reasonable, amendable, persuadable? What do you do? You just give up and throw in a towel? Like I did say, we're going to meet some that won't move, but I also said you could try to a shimmy, a shake, do the bake. I don't know. Do what it takes, but check it out. I would ask questions. When a client looks at you and says, no, thank you, I would look at them and say something like, can I ask you a question, Margaret? Can I ask you a question, Bob? Okay. What was it that you were expecting for me to show you today? What was it you were hoping for me to show you today? What was it? Can you tell me what it was that I didn't say? Can you tell me what it was that I said? I'd like to know because I'm trying to get better at what I do and I enjoy helping families. So if you could give me any advice, I'd appreciate it. Listen, trust me, I'm not trying to brag or boast here. I just definitely don't give me credit for anything that I know. It's all because of the books, all because of Andy, all because of the other leaders. But I will say, I asked the client, I've done this several times, but one in particular. Those of you who love Sons of Norway, you love Sons of Norway. And I think Jim Henson said this from stage, so I can say it. He said it on my call, so I can say it now, because I'm not trying to brag or boast. But I asked that to a client once. What could I have done to earn your business? Because they don't just come out and tell you things. But if you ask, even though you might have already brought it up front, they didn't. Show me what you got. Show me what you got. I ain't going to tell you they got nothing to do. But so she said, well, I got a program for this much money a month, and this is what it's going to cost me. And I'm sorry, nothing you've given me is going to beat that. I said, what? who's it with? Because I thought I asked you. And you said, I know, but I'm telling you now. I said, who's it with? She said, Sons of Norway. And I went, really? I've never heard of that company. Sent the information to Jim Henson. A few months later, we have Sons of Norway. We're able to cover people from 0 to 85 as long as they're still breathing and alive. That's pretty amazing. But anyhow, I found out by saying to the client, what was it I could have done? What was it I didn't show you? What was it you were hoping I would show you? What was it you were expecting of me? Where did I fail? Who better to freaking ask than the client who's telling you no? Ask them what it was that you could have done to earn their business. What could you have done to make it a different outcome? Because it's not too late. It's not too late. And they appreciate, that wasn't supposed to rhyme with late, but I do rhyme. They appreciate the openness. I'm telling you, try it. See what happens the next time you get a no. I ask you what it was that you were expecting, what it was that I didn't do, what it was that you hoped that I would show you. See what happens. Maybe they'll remind you of something that you went like, oh, crap. But anyhow, that's that slide right there. Next page. No agent wants to hear these statements. We have time. I was only going to cover this screen if we had time, but we have time. No agent wants to hear these statements. We are going to think about it. We are just shopping around, and we don't have the money right now. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that when you're trying to sell a life insurance policy. Nobody wants to hear that. We're going to think about it. So let me just give you this little bit of a hint. The way to not hear an objection is to say it first and say it loud and say it proud and make sure you get it out and you get it in the open. So when I sit down with people and I'm getting to know them, I'll sit there and say, listen, Jack, listen, Mary, there's nothing for you to think about today. Nothing at all. Because I have no idea if they'll even approve you. They've got to look long and hard at certain things to make sure that you're somebody they want to give this coverage to. Now, once they think about it and they make the decision to say yes, now you have something to think about. All I want to do is fill out an application and get it sent on its way. And I believe, based on what you told me, this will be the company to go with. This will be the product to use. But again, there's nothing for you to think about. And you actually feel great inside because you said it first. You got it out there in the open. You didn't let them weaponize it. You didn't let them use it. They got to put it away because you've already did it. You've already said it. It's done. And you even say the words after you say the statement, agreed, understand. You know what I mean? And they say yes, and you move on. The next one is, you don't want to hear it, we're just shopping? You don't want to hear that? Then say it first. Listen, John, listen, Ellen, I've done the shopping for you. I've done the shopping for you. We represent so many powerful companies in America. And when you gave me information that I got, I've already done the shopping for you, or I can do the shopping for you. And I can tell you right now, there's no reason at all for you to shop around town. Because I got it. I got it. Understand? Makes sense? Agreed? But you said it first and you took it from them. And now they can't weaponize it against you. And the third one is, we don't have any money right now. Well, listen, with technology today, most companies are e-app anyhow. And most companies want that electronic fund transfer. And I've been doing this for the longest time, and I love it because I sit there and I say to clients, I don't need your check today. You know, they talk about poverty. They talk about most Americans, living paycheck to paycheck and this to that. So if they're saying that most Americans live paycheck to paycheck, you want somebody to give you a check right now that could bounce tomorrow? I like putting them at ease. If they want to give it to me, great, I'll take it, but I like putting them at ease. And I say to them, by the way, I'm a unique agent. I'm not like most agents. I don't need you to write me a check right now. I just need your checking information so I can have it drafted out of your account once it gets approved at a date that you're comfortable comfortable with. And I do a lot of final expense, and they're comfortable with after they get their Social Security check. So the fact of the matter is, by telling them that, you're just letting them know you don't need to, but if you want to, you can. All we need is the information to draft at a future date. But now they're not thinking like, I can't give this guy money today. I can't give her money today. I don't got no money in the bank account today. I'm not going to have money till next month. One of the trainings that we did recently with, we did a training with, I think it was Royal Neighbors. And one of the questions I asked her, because I like to know the little intricacies about a product, I said, from the date of application, how long before the draft? From the date of application, how long before the draft? I need to know this so I can explain to a client not to be panicking over the funds that they need to have. So Forrester's gives you 45 days, and so does Royal Neighbors, which is cool. But it's just interesting to know that some companies you have to do it within 30 days. Some companies you have 45 days. But I want to make sure the client knows, and I got to make sure I know their birthday isn't going to happen in between there and there. So these are things you don't want to hear, and you won't hear them if you say them first. But now here's one that you might hear as we end the call. You might hear them say to you these words: Eric, you're the best, and we're going to do this. We're just not going to do it today. They're not saying think about it. They're not saying shop around. They're not saying they don't have any money. They're smart. They're saying we're going to do this, and you're the best. They're trying to make me fly away on a kite, and they're trying to make me fly away on cloud 9, feeling really good and fine. And they're saying we're going to do this. We're just not going to do it today, and we're going to call you when we're ready. Okay? And I look at them and I say, no, it's not okay. Because whatever we do today, if you don't want it, you can change your mind. And 2, let's start small, and we can always add more later. Let's start at the smallest denominator of what you can do, and we can always add more later. That's why I show them the 3 concepts of accidental death, term, and perm, because you can always start with the smallest denominator of one of those or any of those, and then we can always add more later. So are you liar, liar, pants on fire? Or you really want to take care of your family? Because if you really want to take care of your family, I get my pen out. What's your social? What's your social? What's your date of birth? Because don't let them get away with that. I remember it happened once with me. I drove out of this client's home. This was about 12 years ago. I was flying high in cloud 9. I called up Bobby. I say, woohoo, woohoo. This guy's going to spend like $3.99 a month. And she goes, woo, woo. And I said, yeah. And she goes, okay, we'll get the check to the office right away. We were taking checks back there. Get the check to the office, after the office, and we'll get it over. I said, check, application. No, he didn't do it yet. She took the sail right out of my wings, and I went flying down to earth real fast. And by the way, that didn't happen. That sale did not happen. So don't let a client blow smoke because it's a joke when they use that line, because you can't really get rid of it. Matter of fact, if you hear it, they're trying to make you think it's a great thing. You've got to control it and say, whoa, if you're going to do it, why not do something now at least? Something small, something you can start with, and then we can add on down the road. So listen, everybody, I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope that it will help you increase your cash flow glow. I hope you took some tidbits to improve your in-home show. My name is Eric Bellaire. I'm here in Melbourne, Florida, where we aim high to enjoy Andy's pie. God bless and take care, everybody, in the Lions Nation. Thank you.
Record.